right. Sorry. We're talking about area of triangles. We're going to go over that formula first. Just a reminder, we've done parallelograms, which is A equals BH. We've done rectangles, which is A equals LW. Is there really a difference between the BH and the LW? No, because a rectangle really is a special type of parallelogram. Do y'all agree? So here, this is a rectangle. Yes? Not the prettiest rectangle, but this is a rectangle. All right, and we know that formula is A equals LW. Or we could even say L equals BH because it is a type of parallelogram. Do y'all agree with that? All right. I wanted to think for a second. If I cut this rectangle in half, so I'm going to cut it in half, just going from diagonal to diagonal. What shape did I just make? A triangle, right? And I want you to look at the formula over on the screen. It says A equals BH divided by 2. Because if I cut something in half, what's that the same as doing? Dividing by 2. So again, this shape right here, this is a parallelogram. Do y'all agree? Not a very pretty parallelogram. Here, let me straighten this out a little. Sorry, it bothers me when my things don't look right. Okay, there's parallelogram. That's a little bit better. All right, so there's my parallelogram, which we know is the formula A equals BH, correct? All right, if I cut that in half, so I'm going to go from corner to corner to cut it in half. Now what shape is it? A triangle, because I divided it by 2 by cutting it in half, which is where that formula comes from.
I have a question. Do you have to capitalize A?
Yes. A for area does have to be capitalized. Good question. All right, so my formula is going to be A, capital A, equals BH, and then we're going to divide by 2. What's the big rule about base and height? What do they have to form?
Right angle.
A right angle. Please remember, B and H must make a right angle. Just a little reminder there. Okay. All right, so we're going to start with these first examples, finding the area of each triangle. First thing we're going to do is write the formula. Every single time, write the formula. So on number 1, I'm going to go over to the margin over here so I have some space. A equals base times height divided by 2. Do y'all agree that's my formula since it is a triangle? Since that is a triangle, we're using base times height divided by 2. So I need to figure out what the base is. All right, can the base be this bottom line here?
Yes.
Yeah, because it's going straight across, so I'll just use the bottom. Does it give me a number for that? No. So we're going to have to count it out. So I'm going to count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so make sure that you can get 7 when you count that. So I'm going to say my base is 7. All right, for the height, can I count this line? No. Can I count this line? No. We have to count going all the way up to the top of that triangle. And then we want to go from top to bottom. So I'm going to count this line. Are y'all okay with that? Okay. And I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, make sure you start all the way at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. So my height is 4. All right, divided by 2. The biggest thing that makes people miss their triangles is they forget the divided by 2 part. Okay? So 7 times 4 is 28. And then when I divide 28 by 2, I get 14. So we know we should get 14. All right, I do want to talk about the calculator for just a second because these calculators do some really cool things. So if I do 7 times 4, let me turn it on. 7 times 4, I get 28. Do y'all agree with that? Okay. Now what's cool about these calculators is they actually remember the last answer that was typed in. So right now, what is this answer telling me? 28. What do I still need to do though? Divide by 2. So if I hit the division sign, do y'all see how that pops up A and S? That's the last answer that was in the calculator, which was 28. So that's saying 28 is already there, divided by 2, and that gives me 14, which is what we knew the answer would be. This, guys, will save you from having to type in some really long numbers later on, like when we have decimals and things like that, okay? So I get 14. What do I need to put next to that, though? Units? Squared, because it's area. If it's talking about A, if it's talking about area, you need the 2. Okay. So let's look at number 2. I'm going to write my formula. A equals BH divided by 2. Right. For my base, can I use the bottom line this time?
No.
No, because it's slanted. Can I use the top line?
No.
No, it's slanted. I have to use this side. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for my base, I got 5. For my height, can I use this line? It goes from the bottom to the top, but is it straight?
No.
It's not at a 90 degree. What about the top line? No. So we need to make sure we go from the very top of the triangle all the way to the bottom. Okay with that? Now can I count that? So let's start at the very top, and I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So I get 5 times 7 divided by 2. All right, please don't write down your answer because I want us to talk about it a little bit. We know 5 times 7 is what? 35. So 5 times 7, I know it gives me 35. When I divide that by 2, it gives me 17 and a half. Guys, here's a rule that you're going to need to learn. And I double-checked with Kalia, our student that's in here in the morning. I double-checked with her as well. This is pretty much the rule in the majority of your math classes from here on out. If the problem doesn't give you a decimal, then your answer should not have a decimal. Okay? The only time you can give me a decimal from now on in your answer is if the problem had it originally. Are y'all okay with that? All right. So did this problem have a decimal in it?
No.
No. So what's another way I could write this answer to where it doesn't have a decimal? Peyton?
17 and a half.
As a fraction, 17 and a half. A lot of us can remember that 0.5 is a half. Some of us still have some trouble with that. All right? Calculator has a really cool button to help you out. Okay? So if you'll look at your calculator, do y'all see right here where it says PRB? Okay, that is not the button we need. But if you'll look above it, in my case it's in this light blue. Some of y'all it's in green. Some of y'all it's in yellow. Just depends on, some of y'all it's in white. Depends on the color scheme on your calculator. All right, but up above it, do y'all see where it has an F with arrows going back and forth to the D? All right, that F stands for fraction, and the D stands for decimal. So that's the button that I want to use. The problem is it on an actual button? No, it's not. So I want you to think about to the keyboard like on the computer. Let's say I'm looking at the numbers, like the number 1 on the keyboard. Above the number 1, up at the top, it has an exclamation mark, right? Can you just like hit 1 harder to get an exclamation mark?
Yes.
No, what do you have to do? Shift. You have to use the shift key, right? This second button is like our shift key. So I'm going to hit the second button, and look what popped up. Do y'all see that? It says second. What that means is, hey, you've hit shift. Now I can hit the PRB, and it's going to let me use that F and D button. And do you see how it popped up on the screen? F and D. Okay, it's showing my answer. We're changing it. It's not going from fraction to decimal, but it's going from a decimal to a fraction. Now just hit enter. And what did it tell me? 17 and a half. Most of us already knew that. But if the decimal was a little bit more complicated, like let's say I told you 12.68. That's going to be a little bit harder to change into a fraction, correct? So I'll just do my second for shift and the FD button and then hit enter. Now I know, oh, that's really 12 and 17/25. Right? Do you notice what else did it do? It doesn't just make it a fraction, it makes it what type of fraction? A simplified fraction. Okay? Alright, so we said our answer here, though, was 17.5. What needs to go with that? Units squared. Okay. Alright, number 3. First thing I need to write. A equals VH divided by 2. Write it down every time. Okay. My base. What number is going to be a good base for this triangle? What number would be a good base here, Lily? 12. And if 12 is the base, what has to be the height? 10. And then don't forget to divide by 2. Alright, you also could have said, if I turned it this way, I could have said 10 is the base. And what's the height? 12. Okay. So, it could have been 10 or 12. Those really could have been changed around. Okay. Alright, so when I multiply this, 12 times 10 is? 120 divided by 2 gives me 60. So this is another one we should be able to do without the calculator. If you want to double check, though, I understand. What needs to go next to that?
Unit squared.
Ooh, not unit squared. I made that mistake.
Oh, millimeter squared.
Millimeters. This one has a measurement. So millimeters squared. I did that last period. I actually wrote out units before I realized I messed up. All right, number 5. First thing we want to write? Formula. A equals BH divided by 2. All right. What is the base of this triangle, Noah? 19 and 1/4. So my height is? 9 and 1/2 yards. Don't forget to divide by 2. Now, normally if we were given this problem, we'd be freaking out a little bit, but we know how to type those fractions into the calculator. So we're going to bring that calculator over here, and we're going to type in our 19. Don't forget your fraction button is the ABC button. 1/4 times 9, fraction button 1, fraction button 2, so 9.5. Hit enter. Make sure you got that as your fraction. Make sure we're able to use that calculator correctly. Okay, now what do I need to do? Divide by 2, and that gives me 91 and 7/16. 91 and 7/16. What? Yards squared. All right, number 6. First thing we want to write down. A equals BH divided by 2. What's my base here? 23.7. My height?
4.9.
4.9. I almost did that backwards. Divided by 2. Any questions yet? Are you okay? You okay, Kai?
But I got 197.
For which one?
For the 5.
Number 5? Let's see. You put 7/4. Do you see that? Instead of 1/4. So let's change that to a 1. There you go.
Now I got 182.
Divide by 2.
Oh.
Yes. Yes, get one off the table. All right. So when I multiply and divide here, raise your hand if you have the answer. Raise your hand if you have the answer. Vanessa? 58.065 meters squared. M squared. Okay. Those are just plug it in, use the formula. Alright, yesterday we also found out sometimes it'll give you your area and you'll have to find the other part. Alright, whenever you're looking for that missing piece, that's when you're going to be using your algebra, because algebra lets you find the amount for a letter, which means algebra lets you find the amount for the piece that is missing. Alright, so we're going to look at these next ones. It says find the missing dimension, and this should have said of each triangle. These are all triangles. I just forgot to write it in there apparently. There it is, triangle. Find the missing dimension of each triangle. All right, so for number 7, the first thing we're going to do, if it's a triangle, we're going to write the formula. A equals BH divided by 2. All right, guys, I know since I'm missing something, I'm going to use algebra. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my line here. Y'all okay with that? All right, we're not going to do 2. All right, I'm going to go ahead and draw my line. We're good? All right, it says A. What is A?
Area.
Area. Does it tell me what my area is?
Yes.
Yeah, it says my area is
285.
285. So underneath A, I'm going to put 285 equals. Then it says B. Does it tell me what B is?
No.
No, B stands for base. Does this say base at all? No. So I'm going to leave B just the way it is. H, does it tell me what H is?
Yes.
Yes, it says the height is 15. H stands for height. So for H, I'm going to put the number 15. And then we still have divided by 2. Now this looks a little different than yesterday's because did yesterday's have that 2 underneath? No. If it didn't have the 2, would I know how to get rid of the 15? This wasn't there? Yeah, how do you get rid of multiplication? You just divide it, right? But this 2 is causing a problem. So let's get rid of the 2. What's happening if it's on the bottom? What operation is that? Division. What's the opposite of dividing? Multiplying, right? The opposite of dividing on the bottom is multiplying on the top. If I do it to one side, do it to the other, on the top, just like that. Okay. So, what happens to my 2 on top and 2 on bottom? Yeah, these go away, which was our whole goal. Let's go back over here. 2 times 285. What does that give me? 570 equals, I've marked out the 2's. I still have B times 15. Okay. So now this is multiplication. What's the opposite of multiplying? Dividing. So I'm going to divide by 15 and divide by 15. What's 570 divided by 15? 570 divided by 15. Peyton? 38. 38 what? Feet. Does it need to be squared? No, because is base talking about area? No, you only put the squared if it's talking about A. Alright, so those 15s went away, and I have 38 feet is B. Are y'all okay with that? Alright, I'm going to do the next 2. I'm going to do them kind of quickly so you can get started on your homework. Alright, please remember to use the online resources for your homework tonight. Please check the website, check your mind, do all those things. Alright, so here we have area equals base times height divided by 2. And I'm going to go ahead and draw my line. What's my area? 18.7. What's my base? 17. What's my height?
We don't know.
We don't know, so what am I going to use? The H. We're just going to leave it the way it is. Divided by 2. And if you want to put that H in parentheses just like the other one, you can. Okay, what do I need to get rid of first? The 2. How do I get rid of a 2 on the bottom? Multiply on the top. So my 2's go away here. 2 times 18.7. Anyone got that worked out? Lizzie? 37.4 equals 17 times H. All right. What am I going to do next? We're going to divide both sides. Opposite of multiplying is dividing, and the number we're using is 17. 37.4 divided by 17. Anyone got that one answered? Marlene? 2.2 equals 17 to go away, so I have H. What do I need next to that 2.2 though, Peyton? Centimeters. Just centimeters. There's no 2 with it. Just centimeters. Alright? Number 9. First thing we're going to write. Formula. A equals BH divided by 2. What's my area? 128 and 5/8 equals, what's the base?
We don't know.
We don't know, so we're going to use B. What's the height? 12 and 1/4 divided by 2. All right, what am I going to do first?
Multiply on the top.
Multiply on the top by 2. Okay, 2 times 128 and 5/8. Someone get that for me. Raise your hand once you got it. Okay. 38 and 3/4. Double check that. Make sure you multiply by 2, not divided. Vanessa? 257 and 1/4 sounds better. Equals, and then we still have our B and 12 and 1/4. All right, what am I going to do next? Divide by 12 and 1/4. Go ahead, Lauren. Okay, so my 12 and 1/4 is gone. That leaves me with B. What do I get for my answer here when I divide those? Be careful with your calculator. Peyton?
21 inches.
21 inches. Thank you for including those units. Very good. All right, my fraction went away, but is there a decimal in my answer? No? Was there a fraction to be in my answer? So you can get a whole number anytime. That's fine. Okay. We were able to put the decimal here because this problem had a decimal. Remember, if it doesn't have a decimal, change it to a fraction. Okay. All right, guys, are there any questions about these? All right, so I did change up our homework. We are going to be doing a worksheet. I'm going to pass that out so we can get started. Remember, check your online resources tonight.